Hello and welcome to a deck tech. Haven't done one in a couple weeks on the select side. Been playing some pretty normal decks, but that's all over today. Got a sweet one for you this week. I am playing Blue-Black Prison. It is a derivative of Martin Mueller's list from GP Manchester, I believe. He took that to a top 32 finish, and Frank Karsten picked it up for this past weekend in Costa Rica, also put up a top 32. And there was a mono blue list that made a run at the Open as well from Josh Dickerson.
I think he top 32, right?
Yeah. So just top 32 is everything, I guess. But crushed me in round 9. It was among the most helpless matches I've ever played.
I bet that was a true delight.
Yeah,
I wish I was there.
Well, you're gonna be kind of like
by
you were there.
proxy. I'm gonna relive the moment.
Yes, but from the wrong side of things, you're going to get destroyed because this deck is too fun. It is just great. I don't even know how you come up with this deck, but I'm really glad.
Let the record show that you, I believe at one point, called it the worst deck you've ever seen, and that Martin Mueller must be the greatest player of all time.
I did not say the first thing, but I did say the second thing.
That's not what I heard. But maybe after getting pummeled by it, you've started to see the light.
Okay, yes, maybe. Well, just maybe. Looking over the deck, it sort of looks straightforward from the build. It's a lot of 4-ofs, but it is anything but straightforward in what it does. So this middle row here is our sort of base of velocity spells. We get to dig through our deck, find the cards we need with Anticipate, Pour Over the Pages, and Nagging Thoughts. This top row is sort of the cards that make the deck tick. Jace's Sanctum, 3 and a blue enchantment, makes all your instants and sorceries cost 1 less, and you get to scry 1 whenever you cast one. It sort of turns all of our spells into even more high-powered velocity cards and lets you get to the point where you're casting multiple spells, which lets you do some really cool stuff, as I'll get to in a minute. Got Prism Ring, not a card I expected to see in really any deck, constructed or limited.
Yes, I was about to say it is a card that is not playable in limited, but suddenly it turns all of these cards that are cheap with Jace's Sanctum into life gain spells, which is pretty good.
Yeah, you just sort of the difference, especially when you're playing against an aggressive deck, of the games where you have a turn 1 Prism Ring and you don't, is night and day. Because you basically end up at 30, and no one ever kills someone from 30. That just doesn't happen.
Getting like a cushion of 6 or 7 life over the course of the game, and if you get 2 or 3 Prism Rings, then you basically just become unkillable.
Yeah, and that is I watched a lot of Josh Dickerson's run last weekend because the deck is super fun to watch, and I just saw so many games where he had 2 or 3 Prism Rings in play, and then I looked at his life pad, and he was at 70. It happened multiple times.
That's absurd.
Yeah, he just cast so many spells. And then the real reason for being mono blue, or in this case nearly mono blue, is Engulf the Shore, which is basically Wrath of God, but at instant speed.
It's even better. It's an instant, and there's like tons of so something when we've talked about the standard format, ad nauseum, is that there's so many like sticky threats. Like if they die, they get like incidental effects, or like Hangerback Walker and whatnot. And this card just doesn't care about any of that.
Nope, just get the stuff gone. You don't have any more stuff.
Can do it after a collected company.
Yeah, when I sat down to play round 9 last weekend against Josh, I actually didn't know Engulf the Shores was an instant. It just never. I had never cast it. It had never been cast against me. I just assumed it was a sorcery, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll probably crush him."
You're like Avison. He's like, "All right."
Yeah, and there was a turn where he's passed. And I'm like, I guess he didn't have Engulf. I'm fine. And I attacked, and then he engulfed me, and I read the card, and I was sad. in that order, I was very sad. But the fact that this card is an instant it changes the dynamic of the card pretty significantly.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you end up casting it on their end step a lot, and then untapping, doing something to set up. Then they have to spend their turn rebuilding, and then you untap and sort of go off at that point because you've gotten almost a 2-turn reprieve instead of the normal 1-turn reprieve.
Exactly, yes. Anything that gives you a full turn of not being under pressure is just incredible in an engine deck like this.
And it's a Mondo combo with Days Undoing.
pick up all your stuff. You have like 12 cards in your hand, discard to hand size, then Days Undoing.
Yeah, it is. It's a mono combo. And then we get to cast them both for 5 mana with Adjacent Sanctum in play. And just, how does anyone ever recover from that?
I mean, maybe their 7-card hand's really good. But maybe you draw 7 islands.
My 7-card hand was 5 lands and 2 oaths. It wasn't good.
Hey, you could dig into more lands.
One of my oaths bricked. It did in fact find a land. And Days Undoing sort of lets you just recycle and start the chain over again, because the deck does not really kill very quickly. You only kill with Part the Water Veil, animating a land, and this one Rise from the Tides. And multiple people who have played this deck now have told me this Rise from the Tides probably shouldn't be there. So I'm going to keep an eye on this card, see if it's good enough. I'm not sure if I have enough zombie tokens for it. I only have 16. Is 16 enough? I don't know. Maybe I'll make 20.
I can certainly believe, just like looking at the deck list and watching a few games, that I think Martin might have just been like, he's like, all right, I'm going to pull this trigger on this deck, but like, you know, I'm a little afraid that something weird might happen, so I'm just going to put this Rise from the Tides to make sure I don't just like, some scenario occurs where I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, see, I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you look at the deck to have this sort of over-the-top win condition where you can make 5+ zombies at once. Trying to kill them with just this one Part the Water Veil creature seems like a gargantuan task, but surprisingly is not. What you end up pretty frequently getting to 8 or 9 mana, having a Sanctum or 2 in play, casting the part and animating a land, attack them for 6, and then just do it again the next turn, and they die. You just stall the game until you find 2 parts that essentially end the game when cast back to back. And with how fast you dig through your deck and how many cards you see, it's surprisingly not difficult to just find 2 of them,
right?
And cast them an empty board. Part also helps you stabilize against Planeswalkers. Resolve Planeswalkers are a bit tough, especially game 1. We do have negates in the sideboard, but essentially making a 6-power haste creature lets you just take down a key Planeswalker at a given time, and then maybe you just engulf things back to their hand and then do it all over again.
And Rise from the Tides gives you some flexibility to make plays like that, whereas if you didn't have Rise, then like maybe that's the optimal play, but then you can't kill your opponent if you burn apart and you have to like Rise from the Tide your 6/6 back to your hand. So it's nice that gives, just through one slot, gives the deck a little bit more flexibility about how it can play.
Definitely, but we will certainly be watching how this card performs in the games, and that about does it for the main deck.
There's this Hydrolash, which I actually did like to play in Limited, even though it kind of has the same stigma as Prison Ring.
Sure, that's basically just your Wrath of Gods 5 through 8, but they only cost one mana less, and they draw a card. It's just Wrath of God.
Well, I mean, the format is like so about going wide right now. Yeah. So like it is functionally just like fog draw card for 2 or 3 mana.
How many 2/3s you got? How many? 7? Don't care.
A million of them.
0 3s. Nice jotty offshoot. Except I gain the life and you don't.
Right.
So it's like I have a jotty offshoot, I think.
But it's nice to have an additional card like this to take some pressure off you. Lets you wait on your Engulf the Shores and set up. So
yeah, especially things like Dromoka's Command can outpace your Engulf the Shores by just increasing the creature's toughness. So being able to buy time, make other ups.
Oh, it's toughness.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could like do the Hydrolash plus Engulf combo. Wasn't sure. No.
We got our sweet mana base. It's all islands. Except for these Sunken Hollows.
Which are also islands.
They are. I forgot for a second.
I think that's about it for the main deck.
Yeah.
Shall we go to the sideboard?
Yeah, join us in a minute for the sideboard. Okay, welcome back for the sideboard of Blue Black Prison, and got some nice collection of things. We actually do have actual things. They're in the ice, though. We have to unleash them. But Thing in the Ice gives the deck a nice little aggressive element and another way to reset the board against creature decks. Just a really solid card here. We don't want to main deck them because you want to blank everyone's removal in game 1s, but after board, they're going to either board almost completely down on them or entirely out of all their removal spells. So we got a lot of creatures to bring in post sideboard games that do really powerful stuff. Thing in the Ice, we got Jace, quite good against control decks, just We know what Jace does at this point. I don't even need to talk about this card anymore. And then our limited boom booms, as Majors so eloquently put it during our break, with Guardian of Tazim and Dragonlord Silumgar. Dragonlord is the reason that we have 4 black sources in the deck, and really seems great here. It's another way to answer Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
And just this, when your opponent doesn't have a lot of removal spells, like this card just has such a huge impact on the game.
Even when they do have removal spells, it's just so hard to kill it. Like, can't grasp it, ultimate price it.
Yeah, basically it doesn't die.
Yeah.
Ever. There are no removal spells in Standard that kill a 3/5.
That's what your takeaway here.
But difficult to kill, just really high impact card. And to a similar extent, Guardian is also very high impact. You have all your lands or islands, so
Oh,
it's
for
just
sure.
gonna continuously tap down creatures. It's almost like a 4/5 flying Shriek Maw.
Yeah, the cool thing about this creature package is, like, it makes it very difficult for your opponent to sideboard against you and play against you. So, you can kind of get them, or, you can kind of mind game them and not have creatures in your deck, and they have removal post board, and that's awesome. But any of these threats, when combined with like a Part the Water Veil, your opponent just dies instantly.
Yeah, it's great. I love people dying instantly.
Well, it's actually over the course of 2 turns. It's not really instantly, but
I'm less enthused.
But they're all your turns.
Well, okay, that's good. As long as my opponent doesn't get to do anything and they die.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm looking for. Is that too much to ask for? That seems like a lot.
No, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Okay, good.
Do you think there's it's like good flavor too? It's like a thing in the ice, and you part the water, and it comes out and kills your opponent.
Yeah,
That's nice, right?
That is nice.
Yeah,
that is a good catch. Good catch, Michael Majors, flavor judge.
yeah,
That's a good look for you.
got it. Okay,
Yeah, you can become the Versus Series flavor judge.
gotta throw that in every once in a while.
Good. And then we got our typical sideboard negates.
Yeah,
We just every deck has a million negates in the sideboard.
just elegant card of all. Just throw 4 negates in there.
This card it's just a great card.
Oh, negates absurd.
Yeah. Again, an easy way to answer Planeswalkers. I also think negating things like Transgress is going to be important against the
Yeah,
decks
absolutely.
like that. Very good against the control decks. And then our one of Displacement Wave that manages to always be in this deck sideboard.
Displacement Wave is. I'm down on this card. I don't think it's good. Played it in Sphinx's tutelage. This card is just not good, but that's just my opinion.
We don't have any tutelages that we don't want to return to our hand. But yeah, it is just another wrath effect, essentially, another sweeper effect. Again, this one answers Planeswalkers, also answers sticky permanents that people might have.
I think it's here specifically for humans. Just you need something cheap to
cast
get them
it on
off the
3
board.
mana.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But pretty straightforward sideboard. We got a million creatures so that we can take advantage of people's lack of removal in the post sideboard games, and then negate because this card's great. So that's our sideboard. Let's get to the games because they're going to take forever.
Yeah, they are.
We're going to be here for like 7 hours.
Let's start.
Waste away.
Let's do it.
Join us for the games in
And Ross having fun.
however fast they can click fast. Get to the games.